After King Lear has made the harsh decision to disclaim Cordelia from being his daughter, Earl of Kent is worried and tries to interrupt the conversation in line 120. Good my liege, my good lord. But Lear has no ears to listen to Kent and admonishes him by saying, "Come not between the dragon and his wrath." You can see Kent, being a wise man, an old man, probably an advisor to the king before, does not want paternity and fatherly care to be divided on the basis of fake descriptions and economic, monetary basis. But Lear has no ears to listen to him. He mentions that in fact Cordelia was the daughter that he loved the most, which is why he is hurt. And in very harsh words, he says, after a few lines you can see, to Cordelia he says, "Hence and avoid my sight, so be my grave my peace, as here I give her father's heart from her." So he does not want her to be in front of him anymore, and he wants to take the father's heart from her away. And meanwhile he declares that Cornwall and Albany, the husbands of Goneril and Regan, they are given the privilege to take upon the inheritance that was supposed to be Cordelia's. Cornwall and Albany, with my 2 daughters' dowers, digest the third. In line 128, we can see an alliteration. Daughters' dowers, digest the third. So we can see that of the 3 divisions, the 2 have been already given to Goneril and Regan, and Cordelia's, the third one, has been snatched away from her and given to the elder sisters. And he continues that pride, or rather plainness, is all that should remain of Cordelia, and he does not want to leave anything with her. Lear says that from then onwards, every month, alternating between the sisters, he is going to stay at their place. 1 month at Goneril's castle, and the other next month to Regan's, and so on. Ourselves by monthly course, you can see in lines 132 onwards. This is the only demand that Lear makes, that he just wants to stay with them, alternating between the sisters. Ourselves by monthly course, with reservation of 100 nights, by you to be sustained, shall our abode make with you by due turn. So I'm going to take turns and stay with you every month, alternating between the sisters. The only demand that I have is that I shall retain 100 knights, KNIGHTS. I shall retain 100 servants for me. And he only wants the name of the king with him. All the other power, revenue, execution of rules, everything, he leaves it to Goneril and Regan and their husbands. Beloved sons, be yours, which to confirm this coronet part between you. So in short, he divides his crown meaning the rule, the sovereignty, between Goneril and Regan. Now certainly any beholder would wonder how foolishly a king would behave. This foolishness Kent interrupts and calls as madness. Now Lear's madness is one main theme of the play, but we'll come to that later. Now around line 140 we can see Kent says, Royal Lear, whom I have ever honored as my king, loved as my father, as my master followed, as my great patron. You can see the loyalty in those words. How Kent considers Lear as not just the king, but as a father, as a master, as a patron. But Lear has no ears again for words of wisdom and declares that his decision is final. And if Kent interrupts again, the sword will fall on him. So Kent definitely does not fear Lear's warning, and he says that it is his duty to advise the king from folly. And he very daringly says that majesty stoops to folly. Majesty, the kingly power, stoops to foolishness. And in fact, as a wise man, he makes the observation, you can see in lines 152 onwards, thy youngest daughter does not love thee least, nor are those empty hearted whose low sounds reverb no hollowness. So that shows that Kent can see through the empty hearts of Goneril and Regan, whose low sounds are really hollow. They do not proclaim any honest or sincere or loyal love towards their father. But Lear, he is all the more angry with Kent and doesn't want to listen to him and says that he is going to kill him. Again, Kent says that I have always been a pawn, P-A-W-N, pawn in your war against your enemies. I was meant to be killed for you, so I don't care for my life. The only job I have to do is to do my duty for you. So Lear is all the more angry again and again. So what happens is he admonishes Kent and he decides that 5 days can be given to Kent so that he can make the arrangements to flee from the kingdom. In around line 175, you can see 5 days we do allot thee for provision to shield thee from the disasters of the world, and on the 6th to turn thy hated back upon our kingdom. If on the 10th day following thy banished trunk be found in our dominions, the moment is thy death. Okay, so this is the last verdict that Lear makes on Kent. He is supposed to leave the kingdom. If he is found, anything related to Kent is found on the dominion, he will be killed. So Kent understands that he has no place remaining there in the mind of the king, so he leaves. But and there's one very important statement that he makes: freedom lives hence and banishment is here. So right now I'm going away from this kingdom, and from now on what I am going to live is a life of freedom. If I stay here, here is banishment. Banishment means exile. So there is a paradox. It's a paradoxical statement. Still, it has a meaning. If I stay here, it means I should not do my duty. And that is like banishment. If I go away, that means I can live the life of a free man. But before he leaves, he gives a few words to Cordelia and the other sisters. To Cordelia, he shares words of comfort and blessings. He says, the gods to their dear shelter take thee, maid, that justly thinkest and has most rightly said. So he understands that Cordelia has spoken the right thing. He understands that justice should be with Cordelia, and so he blesses the girl, that all the gods may take care of you. Then the words to Goneril and Regan: and your large speeches may your deeds approve, that good effects may spring from words of love. So he has suspicion that Goneril and Regan are not going to practice what they have actually proclaimed. But anyway, he leaves all of them and bids adieu, sadly, but with the pride that he has been proclaiming his duty towards King Lear.